Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Crispy Kareem, and on my channel I say my opinion, I comment on certain subjects, and I get things off my chest. And you've come to listen for some reason. So thank you. If you like this video, please press the like button, subscribe, and share. And if you don't like the video, normally I'd suggest you show it in a certain way, but since what I'm about to talk about is kind of personal and borderline traumatic, um, keep the hate to yourselves. If you have any negative energy that you wanna push off onto me, project onto me, then do it on one of my other videos. And but yeah, I'm gonna just go. And this is unscripted because the script took me forever to write for my last video. So I want to talk about just like my experiences, specifically that during the pandemic at the University of Sussex. So just an intro, I studied a BA in Economics and International Development, and I did a foundation year before that. I started in 2017 and I graduated last summer and I just scraped a 2.1, which is acceptable for most employers and qualifies me to do a master's degree, but there's not enough for the master's degree I want because I also need work experience. Coming up to the lockdown, I did enjoy myself at university. Obviously, I struggled with certain things. I was placed in off-campus housing to begin with because I was apparently supposed to tell them that I had a disability in the housing form separately from when I already disclosed it in my UCAS application form, which was just stupid. But you know, we gotta force our way through British bureaucracy and this just absolute BS. And I've had a good social life in uni. I was quite active, talked to loads of people, met a diverse group of people, kind of your typical uni stuff. So I was happy. And then lockdown happened and it kind of ruined everything. It also made the issues I was already having in university a lot worse because even when I was at uni, I struggled with focusing during lectures and the lectures going too fast. They were all on the same day, so I'd be burnt out and I'd really miss out on them along with my seminars. And it was so hard, and they don't let you reschedule stuff unless there's like a clash. So thank you, University of Sussex, for being so accommodating for your autistic students. You're so amazing. It's just how awesome. You really like us, don't you? You inclusive institution. And then it was that, and then I have like all the other responsibilities juggle because I moved out, and I'm so glad I stayed on campus the whole time, and I was allowed to because again I'm autistic. But it still was like really difficult to juggle the responsibilities because I gotta cook, I gotta clean, I gotta do this and that, and be an adult and stuff. And I get that it's sort of supposed to be a taste of adult life, and that's valid, but you have to understand that it's so hard when it is the first time living on your own, and oof, you've got to juggle that with something that's going to determine the outcome for the rest of your life. And in my case, so far, it's looking quite bleak because I've been applying for jobs, not as many as I probably should have, but I've been applying for jobs, and so far it's just been all out no's or being aired. So, uh, and I want to really talk about just how much coronavirus and the way my university handled it, and us as their students during the COVID pandemic, just really messed with my university experience and just left an incredibly bad taste in my mouth that really forced me to reevaluate a lot of my life goals and the direction that my life is going in because I'm fine. I'm in a better place than I have been in the last year, and I've been at most peace of mind, but it's still something that's having a professional effect on me. And sitting at home all day thinking about when am I going to have a job, when am I going to have a job is not really great for my well-being. So, and I first want to talk about like where I messed up, because if I don't take responsibility for my own mistakes, I'm not going anywhere. I do a lot of self criticism for constructive purposes, as I did with the whole Corbyn thing last time. And I'm gonna admit I had a bit of like a social media addiction. Like I would spend ages scrolling through Instagram, spend ages scrolling through Twitter, and it's so hard to get off because you don't realize how much time goes by until you finally it's like, okay, I'm gonna get off, and I'm like, an hour and a half has gone by. Crap, and like it really dawns upon you just how badly managed your life is. Like it just really messed with me, and I was going to bed at two in the morning, not because of social media, but because of fire alarms that, you know, tend to happen more often and for a longer time when you spend your entire university life in halls of residence. Just to clarify, I managed to get on campus housing after my friends encouraged me to nag the housing office to ask them to see if there was anything available on campus. Originally, I had a roommate when I was off campus, but he managed to move on campus. And when they found out I was alone, they did decide to eventually give me the spot that was available, even though telling them I was autistic did not convince them. So that's just weird. And I put a block on the web version of Twitter and it did help a bit, but the problem is I would find other distractions and I would get consumed by them, and it's just so hard to focus. Like I don't want to be distracted, but I just veer off course. And it's really bad because when I do academic readings, I have to read the sentences like 3 or 4 times before it seeps into my head, partly for concentration issues, but partly also because they always use this like academic language with big words that only posh people can understand. And I know I sound posh, but I sometimes struggle with academic jargon. So I should struggle a lot with academic readings, and then obviously because you have 40 pages of it for each module every week. I almost never did the readings, and that's something I regret, but I still have access to my Canvas account, and I've downloaded all of my lectures, which I plan on watching at my own pace and taking proper notes. So I haven't gotten my £9,250 in tuition a year of value in it yet, but I might as well maximize it because I'm £55,000 in debt, and fuck it, if I can't get a job, at least I might as well know this stuff and have it in notes on paper. And so that sort of ties in with I really struggled with time management. I really felt like I was constantly rushing and doing this, that, and whenever I'm home, I don't do much because for me, this isn't a work environment. Like, this is why the lockdown really messed with me, because I got so used to working in a library, and I'd have like a separate place to work and a separate place to just chill and be me, that when I had to do everything at home, I really couldn't concentrate. And even now it's hard. And so whenever I chill, like it's because I'm burnt out so much. And especially in my last year where I bit off more than I could chew. I was really stressed out. I had my modules to do. I was in 2 society committees, and um, not that I would have left any of them, but yeah, stick if you want to be in a society committee, unless you are very, very, very capable of multitasking or a very productive person and have the propensity to do it, stick to one committee, because especially with one of them, I would plan events every week. There would be like low effort events, and no one turned up to events anyway, even when I pushed them out, and no one turned up to them. And it was really depressing because one of them was a guest speaker event, and she offered to come back when the first time no one came, and it was really awful. I actually spent some money on Instagram posting and promoting the pages as well, the events, and it just really made me miserable that no one came. And I get that no one really wants to come to online events because of Zoom burnout, but it's really disheartening when you're doing events that no one turns up. And in hindsight, I would have just temporarily suspended the society, but given the nature, because it's a political advocacy cause kind of society, it's kind of insensitive because just because we're not organizing the events, it doesn't mean the thing we're trying to raise awareness about isn't happening. But I really regret trying to host all those events because it just really did not. It took out a lot of time and energy that I could have spent and put into my academic work, which, fair enough, for that semester I got between 60 and 70, but I'm just not happy with the way things went. So I admit I struggle with time management and priorities, and I didn't seek the help that I should have sought. But our student life centre is so understaffed anyway that I don't know how or if they would have been helpful anyway. And I've had other BAME friends have negative experiences with them, so I don't know 100%. I can't 100% for sure say my life would have been better if I'd gone to the student life centre. I went once in regards to my resits and stuff because I wanted to resit another exam that I passed, but I barely passed. So but she just recommended I go against it and don't do it. So I took her recommendation, and that's where I went wrong. I want to now talk about like what the university did because even though I, messed up, I think the university has to be called out. So, as I said, the first thing was just the poor handling of coronavirus in terms of lockdown, because when we went into lockdown, there was clearly no plan of going into lockdown until the government said we would have to go into lockdown, and it was very sudden. There were no adaptations for online teaching. There was clearly no preparation done. We were just told, watch this lecture from last year and do this exercise. And I barely got any contact time after, although with my international development modules, we were barely getting any more because of strikes. And I think I only did about four or five lectures out of the 10 or 11 we were supposed to have that semester. So that was two modules that I barely learned anything on because the teachers didn't want to teach. And I stand with the strikes, but you really, really let your academic standards go to the bin on that one. And that is not something I'm gonna not call out because you can't sacrifice academic standards for a political cause, because whether you put a price on education or not, a refund isn't going to bring my education back. I want those classes. I understand you've uploaded them, but it's just really not the same. The fact that you've taken it out or won't assess it just means I'm not going to learn it, and I feel like I'm throwing money and going into debt for no reason. So that's just bad. And then the university, in the summer of 2020, promised us hybrid learning, and I stupidly believed them, and I got myself accommodation on campus, and then during Freshers Week they switched everything to online, and I cancelled my tenancy, but I had to pay £2,000 in rent because in the contract that I should have read, yeah, you had to pay it, and I never got that £2,000 back. So I did I have paid back three other installments of my maintenance loans, the third one from my second year of my bachelor's, and the second two installments of my final year. Now, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I have a feeling that our economics department in the summer of 2020 inflated some of the grades with a safety net for that year, because I remember getting an email where no one would get below 55% on their modules or their end of year tests, and I guess I was included in that. And I don't. I think if it had been just me that had done badly in the test, they would have left it like that. But because they're trying to look good and they don't want people to think that they've been doing a poor job of teaching throughout that term, specifically in regards to things that were supposed to be covered after COVID-19, that they kind of had to do a safety net policy, and that got through administration and all that. And I guess that's how our grades got inflated. And now, if I look on my transcript, I do not have a grade for that module as far as I know. And in all honesty, if I could retake those tests, I would gladly retake them. I would study for them, I would bring my grade up. I genuinely thought about like begging the university just to let me redo some stuff and like going into more debt, because I'm just so desperate, like borderline Stockholm syndrome desperate. The last thing that the university did to me that really ruined my experience there was with its poor exceptional circumstances process. But in order to explain that, I need to sort of explain to you another thing I regret doing, which was this really awful module called Development Tools and Skills. And what it was basically was essentially a module that just teaches you the kind of things that happen in the process of a development project. It was essentially an internship without any kind of work experience with an actual organization in development. And it was very, very boring, and I wasted so much time on it when I could have just done an actual academic module with academic value. It was the academic equivalent of a bullshit job, and I wish I had never picked it. I wish I'd never done it. It was awful. I didn't enjoy it. I liked my teammates. I worked really hard on it, and I realized about 3 or 4 weeks I hated into it. I hated the module, and I regret never doing the module feedback questionnaire, because I would have very, very harshly ripped the module apart had I taken the opportunity. So I'm going to do it here. It was boring, it was pointless, and I don't hate the person who teaches it, but I think her teaching skills would be better put into teaching interns at a development organization, because this is not academia, that much. But the thing that really messed with me was this end of semester test where we would have 48 hours and we would be given a case study and a specific stage of the project to do, and you'd have to do it in 48 hours, and you'd have to do research, you'd have to get a scale of the project itself, like make it up on the spot, I think, and then critically appraise it, and you have to do all the actual stages have these very long and tedious readings, and they were so boring, and I was never going to do all that in 48 hours, and I got 52 hours because of my reasonable adjustments, and it did not help. I failed to submit the first one, and I had to submit an exceptional circumstances claim so that my research wouldn't be capped at 40%, like I would have done that at 40%, and then I never got like any kind of notification from the university other than updating my personal page where it said that my non-submission had been condoned, but no one clarified what it meant, and it had happened 2 weeks into my second semester, so I didn't have the time or the headspace to follow them up on it. And despite the fact that I asked them to not make me resit the test, to just find another solution to contact me, and that it was having a detrimental effect on my mental health, and they didn't um, respond to it in any way because it's not their job. It's the exceptional circumstances team, and they should have passed it on to the student life center, but they didn't. And I mean, take some initiative, because if you're dealing with academic stuff, that mental health is tied into it. And if you're not, then you're just a really awful team and you're wasting the university's money. So I ended up resitting in August. In the run up, I had to keep refreshing my student page to see when my resit was, because no one emailed me about it. And then I had to formally accept it, which I didn't find out until after the deadline, which no one emails me about. And um, I actually got an email saying, okay, so you don't want to resit then? I said, no, I do. And you didn't notify me. And then they claimed they did. And when I checked my inbox, they didn't. So you're clearly lying. But when I emailed them, they hadn't updated my status regarding the resit, and so decided to let me do the resit anyway and put that on record that I was on it. And then when it came to the resit, I did not get a notification as to from where I could download the paper. I lost about 2.5 hours on it, and I had to wait for someone to email me back, because when I emailed the module convener, she was on leave during the resit. So yeah, I just sat there and thought, I really do not want to do this, because these people do not put effort into me, and I'm putting effort into this, and I don't even want to do this. I don't want to engage with it. I'm bored. I hate this. I hate this module. I hate this university, and everything just sucks. And I literally just managed to get 2.1. I still failed the test, but I just about passed the module. And I was so miserable after that especially when I got my mark back, that I contacted the Student Life Center. I was hoping I could follow them up with something, and they said, you're not a student anymore. Here is some cognitive behavioral therapy, or some stuff. Go away, we don't care about you. If you're not happy, too bad. They were very dismissive. They wrote a long email that I wasn't going to read. So after 2 or 3 weeks, I realized I wasn't going to be able to pretend I was okay with what happened or bottle it up, because I was just going down a spiral of negative energy and just wanting to disassociate with myself because of how low my self esteem was. And I finally sought private therapy. I'm not going to say where or what happened in those sessions, but I knew I needed to speak to a qualified professional, because my mental health was so bad that I just felt like I couldn't act like someone who was okay in public anymore. That isn't to say that I'm always pretending to be okay and that I'm always on the brink of a meltdown, but it was just that one point where I just really couldn't feel like I could put myself together, because I had so many negative thoughts that it was starting to eat me up from inside. Because I just had constant bouts of negative energy that I needed to let out, and I was mentally destroyed from what happened, and I needed to speak to a professional. I'm not gonna, Again, I'm not gonna say specifically what happened in those sessions, but I have gotten better since, largely because of those sessions, because I've been able to articulate what I feel, why I feel those ways, and who's responsible for the way I feel and the outcomes of my academic and professional life, as well as my personal life. And I'm in a much better place now. I'm not constantly consumed by regret and the um, idea that I could have done something better, or that just that the university is having such an impact on my life. I'm more forward looking and planning the future, and hopefully the past won't remain a roadblock, even if it is now. But one thing I truly learnt was to not internalize systemic institutional abuse and neglect. A lot of people say that being grown up is taking responsibility for your actions and manning up and stop blaming others for things where you've gone wrong. And although that's true, I think it also takes a lot of growth to understand where other people have wronged you and treated you poorly, and to know how and when to hold them to account. Because otherwise, this idea of being grown often ends up in you blaming yourself for things that other people have done to you, and it will destroy you from the inside, like it nearly did to me. And that's why I'm so happy I sought therapy in the first place, because my experience at university post lockdown was just really unpleasant and very, very negative, and it's something I hope no one has to go through. I also just want to say, before I get to like my final conclusions, that the university did not provide me enough information to make like good decisions on them. Like I wish I did get heated warnings about the module I picked, and I wish I'd taken them more seriously. But um there were no other modules in international development that I liked on that semester, and no one ever thought to tell me like, oh, maybe you should defer your year and then see if there's a module that you'd like next year. Because the thing that really, really, really rubbed salt into the wound was that I looked on the website, and apparently this year they're offering to international development students in the first semester a international relations in the modern Middle East module, which I don't know if that's a technical error or anything, but even then the modules just look better this year than they did last. And I spent so long complaining about the lack of Middle East teachings when I was in the global studies. Half of my modules were global studies stuff, and it just felt like we were very invisible as a demographic, us Swana people, Southwest Asian and North Africa. And I was in those student union BAME inclusivity sessions going, we need academic representation, we need academic representation. And here it is when I'm gone, and I'm stuck with this really shitty, useless module that's screwed with my mental health. And that's my final experience of university. So, with that being said, here are my final conclusions. One, every university has and should have a duty of aftercare towards its alumni. I am alumni, so if you're ever in a position where you ask me to donate to your university, I'm going to remind you, because I'm your alumni, I'm going to remind the university that they refused to provide me with aftercare when I was their alumni, because you can't ask me for money when you've my mind up. That's just not happening, especially after the COVID thing, after you just took my money and went and did not think to, I don't know, try to uphold any academic standards or just quality of student life or anything else. I've also had to seriously reconsider what I want to do in life. I've always wanted to work in development, and I still kind of do, but The module that I spoke about earlier just made the entire thought very terrifying and sickening, and I don't know. I've wanted to do a master's degree for a long time at the university because we have the Institute of Development Studies, which is very reputable, and now I'm questioning that, and I absolutely do not want to work from home because that will just remind me of my last year at university, and I cannot have that for the rest of my life. My entire life in my bedroom where I have no choice to separate that from any kind of personal life because I live with my parents in a house in London, and the only people who think working from home and separating out that sort of stuff is easy are middle class people who think that the way they live is easily attainable for everyone. Upper middle class people in suburbs and big houses. But I'm gonna get a job, hopefully something in my field that I can feel comfortable in, and hopefully I can redo my lectures. I may not have the grades to show for what I know, but the knowledge is there for me to take in. And again, I'm £55,000 in debt, and I need to pay that off. But in the meantime, thank you to the University of Sussex for a lot of my personal development, a lot of which was painful and awful, but also a lot of positive development as well from the people I've met, from the things I've done and taken part in, and from the things I've learnt. It's really a mixed experience, and it's made me who I am today. Thank you for pushing me to get private therapy, which, if you'd been better at treating students like actual people and not just cash cows, I wouldn't have needed in the first place. Fuck you for your lack of leniency. Okay, so I fucked up. I'm gonna have to leave here with my really awful grades. And I also want to thank the university for teaching me that when I mess up, the system and the rules are set up to make sure I pay for it as much as I can in as painful way as possible, and in a way that really messes with my mental health and makes me as miserable as possible. I'm sorry to all the people that I pretended to be okay in front of, especially my parents and my brother, because I don't want to break down in front of you. I love all of you, and I'm okay now, but you know, I was a train wreck a year ago and was still cleaning up the mess. So I'm sorry this is very depressing, but I'm gonna talk about 2021 stuff being left in 2021. I'm probably going to end up editing this in 2022 because I do not have the time to edit this now. But, I think it's time to leave some trauma behind. I needed to get this off my chest and make this into a video. I thought I'd scrutinize my university a bit because you do deserve it. You've been awful to me and other students, and please check out my other videos, and if you like them, subscribe to this channel, give the videos a like and share, and I will see you in my next upload. Bye bye.